Hello everyone, and welcome to the inaugural stream of the Hrafnfjall Hearthside Hávamál discussion. So, we're hoping the stream will last about an hour, and so I will read a stanza both in the Old Norse version and then the translated version according to Völuspá.org, which is from what I have learnt over time, is one of the better online sources for translations of the Hávamál. So I'm going to read a stanza in both the Old Norse and then the English, and then we can discuss it in the chat. Laura is here to aid with the discussion and also moderate the chat should we get undesirables.
Undesirables, yeah.
So if you are here, speak up in the chat.
Yes, by all means speak up, and otherwise we'll get going.
Well, I was going to say I'm going to wait till 10 past the hour to give people time to come in.
Get settled, get a drink of water.
Oh, better. I have water because I'm talking. But, yeah, so as you arrive, just say hello in the chat. And if you see me looking down, I have the Hávamál on my phone, plus I have the chat on my phone, so.
There's my fun copy.
Yes, you have the pocket Hávamál.
Oh, which is awesome.
Do we have any bites on our social media channels?
We got a lot of likes, so hopefully they'll be joining us.
Aye. As I say, I'm waiting till 10 past the hour and then I will get going. Also, please excuse, I am still learning to pronounce the Old Norse, so if I do slip up and you know how to pronounce it, please do speak up in chat.
This is a learning experience, exactly.
I happily accept corrections. And also, excuse the hair it needs cut. The aim for this stream is to get through 5 of the stanzas of the Hávamál, and that will be then carried through each time. We will try and do 5 per stream. This will be done on a bi-weekly basis. A fortnightly basis. Whatever you want to, I've heard it. Yeah. Anyway. I'm going to shush before I sound stupid.
So, love, what has brought you to learn how to read and speak Old Norse? And why are you practicing it?
Well, learning to speak and read Old Norse so we can actually read historical texts in their original forms.
Why is it important to you?
Because when you translate, you lose things. In translation, you lose... Sometimes you actually lose the actual meaning of a text because of when you have to translate it, and it comes out in a different pace, or it comes out in a different way than the original text intended.
So understanding it yourself can give you a slightly different interpretation.
Yes, this is both
and you can verify.
Exactly. because someone could mistranslate it purposely for their ends.
That makes sense. So what sources do you recommend if you're interested in learning?
Oh, mine have been a mix of... I will put sources in the description of this video once it's gone into recording, because there's multiple places online. Plus, also, oddly, music.
Oh, perfect.
Certain pieces of music where Old Norse is used in them. Yeah, there's, like, for example, there's some songs that use Old Norse in parts of them. And learning how to pronounce them through the song, and then learning what they translate it into actually gives you an understanding of a language.
Exactly. It's always helpful to learn a new language to begin with, so.
Yes, always useful. Ah, hello, North Star. So, in another minute, once everyone else has got themselves settled, we'll be starting up.
I do imagine people will be watching and enjoying after the live event as well. Links will be shared, so if you can't make it live, don't worry. But, yeah.
Exactly. So to repeat for people who've just come in, I'm going to be reading the Old Norse version and then the English version according to Rollerspur.org, which is one of the better sites for the translated versions. And also, just to repeat, I welcome corrections on my pronunciation if you know how to pronounce it properly. I do not claim to be in any way even an intermediate. I am an utter rookie at it, but I'll give it a shot.
The practice is good, so.
Yes. And if I pause after pronouncing the word, it's me more likely going, did I pronounce that right? Anyway, shall we begin?
Absolutely, let's do.
So, Hávamál stanza 1, as Old Norse version. Gotte alle ora gongi från, skodosk skili, skingatgrast skili. Vi af ovist att vita var ovinner. Sitja if leti ferir. Within the gates ere a man shall go, fully warily let him watch, full long let him look about him, for little he knows where a foe may lurk, and sit in the seats within.
So, the fascinating thing is that in this pocket Hávamál, you're going to find slightly different translations from Hávamál to Hávamál, depending on who's been translating it. Mine, for instance, the first stanza, all doorways, before going forward, should be looked to, for difficult it is to know where foes may sit within a dwelling.
That's down to the translator, and also because there is no set codex or translation guide for Old Norse. It's based on scholarly interpretation of what sources there are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So it's just kind of interesting to see, because reading a couple might be, a very good idea if you're trying to get a really solid grasp on what they're saying here in the Hávamál.
That's a key thing in studying any text, not just the Hávamál, any text. Go with 2-3 separate translations.
Yeah, absolutely.
The recurrent points in those translations are where you will find your true facts in translation.
Right.
Because if the same 4 or 5 people have picked up on that same part,
mm-hmm.
It's likely to be true, but they'll put it in their own way because everyone likes to put a twist on their work.
Isn't that the truth?
It's human nature.
So let's talk a little bit, go backtrack just a bit. What exactly is the Hávamál, first and foremost? Do we know a little bit of the history about it, where it came from?
So, the Hávamál in the form that most people find it these days are copied down versions by the monk Snorri Sturluson. So, of course, you have to be careful in his versions of finding, shall we say, purposeful misinterpretation of the original pieces, which were This theory is that they were oral traditions. They were written down but never disseminated, or cards. There's multiple different discussions as to where the Hávamál came from.
And the idea is that these are, in theory, words of wisdom of the All-Father himself, correct?
Yes.
Which have been since passed down, theoretically.
Quick note from here from North Star is that they find it interesting that the word gates is used in the Völuspá translation. Part of that is because of the actual. I've seen the word for door, gates, not translated both ways in other pieces as well. It's someone's interpretation of what that word means, because as I mentioned earlier, there is no codex for. There is no full dictionary where you can go, okay, I've got this Old Norse word. What's the English word? It's about interpretation, and yes, it was from the Völuspá site.
Interestingly enough, one could be as correct, I think, in saying pass through.
Yeah.
For instance, be something you just walk through.
So, let me actually find the word for gates. Yeah, got here. So, it can be interpreted as gate or door. Some of it's contextual as well. Don't forget, language is complex. Simply put, language is complex. Very complex. And don't forget, coming up to Old Norse, the Indo-European languages, and then moving into the early Proto-Germanic, it's already gone through few thousand years of development already. So it would have these nuances that the same word could mean two things. And because there was no real written record up until Christian monks started writing it down, we may never know how complex those nuances were. So there is that as well.
Yeah, unless we can invent the time machine. There's a lot we may not know.
I'd never been the actual century I was from. I'll put it that way. I love history too much that I'd be adventuring.
Gone. But yes, so all doorways, before going forward, should be looked to, for difficult it is to know where foes may sit within a dwelling. So this just speaks to me to being aware, being situationally aware of the surroundings, knowing who's where, what's going on, who's friend, who's foe.
And I think because
it's... But you gotta kind of have that forethought. Which does speak to an older time, a time of warriors and...
Yes, and also if you note the emphasis on foes, it's also a bit of interpretation here from myself. It's also knowing thine enemy and knowing who your enemy is, but also knowing how to identify them from friend. Because if you're on a battlefield and can't identify friend from foe,
you're in trouble. Yeah.
You're in trouble.
And then not allowing them to remain hidden.
Exactly. It's flushing out your enemy as well. Don't let them sit in your hall. Don't let them sit at your table. Enemy is the enemy. Anyway, North Star, yeah, exactly. And Gorder is a known phrase for enclosure.
I like that you like that. Good.
It's, well, if you look at the cosmology, Mid-Gorder, Off-Gorder, it's a known word for enclosure. A gated, a fenced enclosure. Some say gated enclosure. It's debated, but yeah, exactly. What are your thoughts on the meaning of this stanza, Northstar?
What's your interpretation?
I had once said to me that you put like 10 heathens in the room and you'll get 20 answers.
Precisely. So we're not here to tell anybody, of course, what it is it means, but we are kind of just here to talk, discuss, and share our thoughts.
Exactly. And also, anyone who's just lurking and watching, please just say hello so we know you're
Feel free
here.
to speak up, by all means. Yeah.
Because even if you're not sure about joining in, we'd like to know you were here so I can just say hello. We're not.
Yep. Drop a line in the chat, you know.
Even if it's just an X in the chat, just so we know you're here. Also, is there any issues with the video or anything? Just please do know any issues with the sound.
The feed itself, of course. Yep. By all means, let us know.
Yeah, exactly like we were saying. The key point is as Laura was saying, it's about being situationally aware. But also having that skill to be situationally aware. Some people just don't have it. Seriously, some people just do not have situational awareness.
Yeah, we all know those people.
Don't we? But yeah, I also think the extension of it, the key point is being situationally aware, but I think the extension is also knowing thine enemy and flushing thine enemy out.
And again, I think that speaks to a bit of an older time in that regard, but
yes,
obviously still.
But then again, I still think
in many ways today.
As I was about to say, it still has application in a modern world.
Yes.
Don't doubt this world's modernity sometimes. Anyway.
Yeah, you gotta wonder.
Okay, Northstar, anything else you want to add before we move on to the next stanza?
I think that one is pretty straightforward. I'll agree.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, that's essentially what we're saying.
Okay. To the next stanza. Gefunder hele. Gäste inkomin. Vad skall sitjas ja? Mjölk bröder. Så och brondum. Skall sins I freister frama. Hail to the giver. A guest has come. Where shall the stranger sit? Swift shall he be who with sword shall try the proof of his might to make.
Very interesting. See, the Pocket Hávamál version is Givers hail, a guest is come in. Where shall he sit? In much haste is he, who on the ways has to try his luck.
See, now there's two different translations where you could, two different meanings could be interpreted from them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see, from the Völuspá.org translation,
right,
I split that in two. The first is treating acknowledging the guest and making sure the stranger has a seat at your table, and treating the guest well. The second half is don't harm the guest. Essentially, because
basically guest right in a way.
Guest rights. From, I would have to pull sources, but from the start of time itself, there's been some form of guest right.
Mm-hmm. Now, whether or not that's what this is getting at, kind of under some debate.
Yeah, definitely under some debate. Phone.
And for mine, the second line translates roughly, in much haste is he who on the ways has to try his luck. And that can be interpreted in a couple of different ways to me as well.
Yeah.
Kind of meaning if you have to push your luck on the way, you're going to be in a rush to get out of that. You're going to have to hurry up.
You see, and there's, like I was saying earlier, because of different translations, you can interpret different meaning.
Right, because it could also mean that if you're rushing, if you're in a hurry, you're going to be pushing your luck.
Some of it is down to personal interpretation. And that is why it annoys me when people go, it means this. No! Oh, Scott.
Thank you. It's been kind of fun to compare, I think.
That's a very case in point that backed up my assertion of the people translate differently. And that's part of the reason why there is scholars around the world trying to actually build more of a codex of Old Norse and languages similar to Old Norse, that they've got enough data from that they can start extrapolating what each different words mean. The verb nuance, the punctuation nuances, how the sentences are structured, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Of course, as you mentioned before, there's a lot that we're going to miss out on. But all we can do is our best. We're still always going to view it through the lens of our society and our culture today.
Yes. And North Star, yes, exactly. That's because there's so many different scholars working on it, and there's different interpretations to each word.
Mm-hmm. Kind of goes, you can mean this, it can mean this. Or, maybe, who knows, maybe they deliberately left it kind of vague like that.
That could have been part of the purpose. And yes, you are correct, he translates Brondum that way. I think it's a case of you put 5 scholars who are studying and trying to translate Old Norse into the same room, and they'll probably give you about 20 odd different versions. Oh, I would like to hear that as you're able to type it. And also hear your thoughts on this stanza. I think it's essentially about guest right and about treating the guest well.
Mm-hmm. But that would be interesting to hear your take as well, North Star. Yeah. When you got a moment. You're in and out.
I will read out 3, and we can flip back to the other stanza as you're able to type now, Star.
Yeah, so no worries.
Here we go. Okay. Eld for themes in common. Ok ne kalin. Motto ok vada mani for fame heather Hrafnfjall 40. Fire he needs, who with frozen knees has come from the cold without. Food and clothes must the farer have, the man from the mountains come.
And here I have, fire is needful to him who has come in, and whose knees are frozen. Food and raiment a man requires, whoever the fell has travelled.
Okay, so quite similar meanings, just a differential interpretation of mountain versus fell.
Yeah. Though I would suspect mountain probably the more accurate given the probable terrain. Not that I'm overly familiar, but my suspicion.
Yeah. And North Star, I actually agree with you there in some respects. This is old custom that has been posed in poetic form.
Mm-hmm.
But that would actually make sense. There was nowhere to look for guests.
That custom there, yeah. Mm-hmm. Rather than enter directly.
Friend of ours I remember mentioning something about that actually.
Mm-hmm. I think Jackson Crawford's explanation was that as well, if I remember.
Yes, that was his interpretation. So it was his interpretation, but also a friend of ours as well said, yeah, that's about right.
Yes. No worries. You are quite welcome.
Yep, no, there is no real lateness here. I've just gotten to the 3rd stanza. May end up doing more here,
Yeah, and we'll be sharing the link to review as you wish later. So,
and if anyone wants to discuss after the fact on the links, I will be me or Laura will be putting up a post in the Hearthside group, which I will link in the description of this. Also, Laura will put into the chat for people who are not in the Hearthside group, and I will set up a discussion in there on each of the stanzas with both translations. I think that works, doing the translation of Fullerspur and then translation out of your pocket Hávamál.
I think that's works very well. Yeah, I've actually gotten benefit out of the comparison here.
Yeah.
But as we discussed, 3rd stanza, fire is needful to him who has come in, and whose knees are frozen. Food and raiment a man requires, wherever the fell has traveled. So essentially, traveler comes in, he's going to be freaking cold.
And
I think this is fairly straightforward. Yeah, give him food, give him, any kind of extra warmth he requires, fire, clothing.
And it's
take care of your guest.
Yes, it's on the homeowner to provide those things. But as is discussed, I can't remember which stanza it is now, but a bit later on, but essentially guests shouldn't take the mick either.
Yeah.
There's a line.
Which, I don't know, we still have people cross that line today.
Oh, yeah.
Yet I don't think people are nearly as apt to welcome in a stranger today either.
No, but that is a societal thing. Yeah. And unless people in chat want to get into that discussion, we'll not get into that at the moment.
Yeah, sidebar.
A bit later in the stream, if we get through all 5 stanzas, maybe.
Okay. We'll pick that back up maybe then.
So, North Star or FEMA, any thoughts on stanza 3? Or FEMA, do you have any thoughts on 1 and 2 if you know them? And just to note, I am using the Fullerspur.org Old Norse version and the translation. And Laura is reading the Pocket Hávamál version.
Benjamin Thorpe translation.
Thank you. I was just about to ask you.
I had to double check myself.
So, anything, Thema?
Well, all right.
Okay, so we shall move on to stanza 4.
Yes.
Vatnus forfheim til Dhra kemur, veru og fjordlader gods of Edis FC geta meti ot og endefogur. Water and towels and welcoming speech, should he find who comes to the feast. If renown he would get, and again be greeted wisely and well, must he act, sorry.
So as we mentioned, this is kind of a great practice with the language of Dael Norse, and it being a difficult one, bear with us. But for instance, I mentioned slightly different translations. This is a great example. The Benjamin Thorpe translation and the Pocket Hávamál. Water to him is needful for who refection comes. A towel and a hospitable invitation and a good reception if he can get it. Discourse and answer. So, this seems like in many ways general hospitality. Welcome a guest, be friendly, be hospitable.
It's an extension of the prior stanza. This is essentially, as Snarfstar mentioned earlier, this definitely fits in with the theory of it is a description of old Scandinavian guest rights and how to treat a stranger.
Then people would have actually been a stranger in your village, in your area. But the occasional person wandering through, sure. And they would have come from a long ways away. It would have been cold, most likely. And they would have been probably oftentimes on their own. Although,
but to the same
this
degree,
is what it makes it sound like. I don't agree with that necessarily. Who would travel alone through that kind of an environment?
Some people may have, but to the same degree, this could also just be someone not of your household.
Mm-hmm. True.
And Northstar, I do medieval reenactment. I know what you mean. Everything else stays warm, but the knees don't, and it's painful.
That's actually really good point.
But
that's a female. I don't know. I think there's some few other points. But yeah, and of course, water is always going to be a key necessity
because
traveling.
Because some people fail to realize cold can actually dehydrate you quicker than heat.
Well, the air itself is drier.
Yes, exactly. It dehydrates you quicker than heat in some respects.
Yes, it does. So to clarify, in this translation, they do say water is needful who for refection comes. Refection is, just to help clarify, because to me it was a somewhat unfamiliar word, refreshment by food or drink, a meal, or the light one in particular. So that just refers to refreshing your guests and having light fare available.
It's the root of the word refectionary, also known as a cafeteria. Any comments on stanza 4 from either Thema or Nafsa? Or anyone else who happens to have come by?
All right, let's move on.
Alright, let's move on. So, stanza 5. Vits forth faim vira rata. Delet heimavad. At bragdi vere. So eki con och med snotrum sitter. Wits must he have who wanders wide, but all is easy at home. At the witless man the wise shall wink, when among such men he sits.
Wit is needful to him who travels far. At home, all is easy. A laughing-stock is he who nothing knows, and with the instructed sits.
Yeah, that is true. That is part a good point there, North Star. Yeah, at that time, travellers and people moving between settlements would be the primary news service, essentially. They would be the people to speak to about like the wars going on, or which jarl was beating up which jarl.
I.e., rumors.
Yeah.
But yeah, discourse would have been one of the primary services they provided.
But to the same degree, this is also saying if you have nothing interesting or useful, and you're just going to say something stupid.
Basically says if you don't know anything and you're sitting amongst those who do, you're going to look like an idiot, which I think is pretty common sense.
There is other hints at similar behavioural advice later on as well.
Yeah.
The 200 character limit sucks as well, doesn't it, North Star? I'm surprised. 5 stanzas actually got us back to 40 minutes. Impressed.
You're doing pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. Especially the mention of the towel.
That could actually be an interesting interpretation because you could use water both to drink and to wash. Especially if you've been walking a fair enough. Especially if you've been walking a fair while, you want to wash use at least the vital bits.
Yeah, you're probably pretty whiffy, let's be honest.
And people fail to realise this who aren't learned. The Vikings are actually quite, I say Vikings, Scandinavian cultures. Really,
Thank you.
I winced at myself. Trust me, I just winced at myself. Anyway, Scandinavian cultures at the time were actually quite clean people in comparison to other cultures within Europe at the time.
But it's very true also that if even today abroad, it's about you. You're interacting with different cultures, different people, and it helps to be a little bit abreast of their customs and what they consider courtesies and what they don't. So, in many ways, it's just to not draw attention to yourself until you know a little bit about where you are and who you're among.
Exactly. Because what is not offensive to one culture can be offensive to another culture. And yes, Northside, you make a very good point there. That's what I was trying to make. Scandinavian culture at the time was one of the cleanest in Europe, and that's the reason they also got a lower rate of disease spread in comparison to like Western Europe, the British Isles, France, etc., who later, after the Viking Age had ended and later on, is the reason that the plague spread faster in certain parts of Europe because they were, frankly, rather dirty.
Definitely didn't have the standards of hygiene
No.
today. Or medical advances. Let's be honest there, but that's.
But
I digress.
The key thing is that was noted is the fact that certain cultures who were cleaner had less disease spread. I'm not saying they didn't get it, period, but it was just a less rate of spread because people cleaned a bit more.
Very true.
And I said this was going to be a Hávamál discussion, but apparently I'm adding the history facts while I'm at it.
I don't think anybody's going to mind that. No, I don't. As long as it's, pertinent.
Any thoughts on 5 from the audience?
Now that we've gone from washing and towels to travel and cultures and disease.
And background.
Mm-hmm. However, I will point out that while it does mention specifically that if you are sitting as someone who doesn't know much about the topic and you're sitting among a bunch of people who do, I see no problem with that, providing you're like, hey, I'm just here to listen and learn. I think it's a great way to learn, in point of fact, because, after all, nobody knows everything about everything.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody who knows more than you, and there will always be somebody who knows less. And I think the ideal is to actually teach those people who don't know as much and learn from those who know more.
Mm-hmm. And yes, no, sir, you're completely correct there. I just have to watch myself or I'll go into 45-minute monologues about a historical subject. Laura can attest to this.
SCA historian hobbyist? Yeah.
The phrase is amateur historian.
Whatever. Whatever you want to call yourself. All right. Well, I think we've got time to get through another stanza or two before we wrap up.
No, sir, you sound like the sort of person I'd happily talk to. And yes, that is correct. And I'd like to know about online interactions. There's too many people who start, they open their mouths or start using their keyboard and actually don't know about the subject they're typing on. Or they've not read up on the subject enough. They think they know from that tiny piece of information they've got, when really they need to be reading their sources. And I found one too many times where I've turned around to someone and gone, okay, show me your sources. And they've gone, I don't need to, even though they've made claims.
I think the Scandinavian culture was one that was very direct.
Well,
very straightforward, very common sense.
Well,
but when they noted that somebody was an idiot or didn't know what they were talking about, or was a drunkard, they had no problems mocking them. They were blunt. That's the impression I get.
And that's still the same today from the Scandinavians I know through reenactment and through friends I've got. They're very direct people. And they're not afraid to take the mick out of you if you've done something stupid or said something stupid.
For us non-Brits, the white now.
Take the piss out of you.
I think we Americans would put it, tease the hell out of you.
Okay. And if anyone in the stream doesn't like the odd little bit of cursing, sorry.
Nah, I'm not going to apologize. We're all adults, hopefully.
Yeah, but there's even adults who don't like swearing. But then again, well, you come into a stream run by a pair of heathens. And I have quite the
and
mouth.
a coastie.
Mm-hmm. She's the coastie.
So, moving on.
Anyway, we'll go for another stanza because we've got another
we got
10 minutes. Time. And I don't mind running over a little bit because this will probably be the sliced down a little bit. Okay. At Higiandi sinis gilit mara racing vera helder gating a geri for a horske och fågel keme heimsgader till sjaldan väder mitt vidi nappe sjaldan väder viti vorm vi a öbrigara Dhra vinfär mare aldrägi ek man vid mikit. A man shall not boast of his keenness of mind, but keep it close in his breast. To the silent and wise does ill come seldom, when he goes as a guest to a house. For a faster friend one never finds than wisdom tried and true. Just a quick note, those last two lines, as noted by voluspa.org, seem to have been added.
Interesting. So, the translation I have in the pocket Hávamál, of his understanding, no one should be proud, but rather, in conduct, cautious. When the prudent and taciturn come to a dwelling, harm seldom befalls the cautious, for a firmer friend no man ever gets than great discernment.
I think this again links in with the prior stanza. Essentially, you may know a lot on the subject, but don't boast about it and be quiet and listen. You may learn a thing or two. I know I enjoy sitting in a group of people and just listening because you learn a lot. Useful information, you learn new facts, or you learn information that you really want.
Or simply you learn about the company you're in.
And there is that. Because understanding
their
the people
natures and their personalities, yeah.
Because once you have an idea of a group you're interacting with, it means then you know you can bring up certain information, discuss certain subjects. Because some people might not be interested, or find it offensive, which could be at the period that this happened, that these texts were written. Offending someone could mean offending a trade partner, or it could mean offending the neighbouring peoples, which could spark a fight. You have to remember the social nuances when these texts were written.
That's true, and they didn't have quite the same system of law. So
their last, well, at the time of these texts, no, but later on their law system did actually develop quite nicely. One of the best law systems in medieval Europe.
I think that speaks very well of especially a company you're not certain of.
Mm-hmm.
And who may be listening. I'm going to keep mindful of that.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I agree with you there, Afsar.
No worries. So I do like that, however, about harm seldom befalls the cautious.
No, because
and I think it kind of ties back to you for a bit of it, basically being aware
And if you're not stupid and keep your mouth shut, you're not likely to end up with a sword at your throat, essentially.
Mm-hmm. I do like that North Star, but rather watchful about his mind.
Yes, that's actually quite a decent translation.
Mm-hmm. You mean, just to clarify, seldom happens injury or pain to the wary North Star? And that seems like a very direct translation, yeah. It's just like that man-wit. As far as I've been able to hear, that's kind of common. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. Wary, yep.
And that is actually common in Old Norse, the man-wit. Dr. Crawford notes it in his videos quite a bit, a sentence structure like that, because Old Norse was not structured like our languages.
No, and they were awfully fond of alliteration and...
In poetic forms, yes, they were highly fond of alliteration and interesting word layouts.
Mm-hmm. See, I find that very an interesting mode of writing that they had. And we thank Dr. Jackson Crawford, by the way, for this, helping us with some of our own understanding.
Yes.
We brought him up a couple of times and do highly recommend him as a good source, from what we can tell. And now that it looks like we're kind of coming up on time, we'll kind of...
Yep, we'll just chatter and
yeah.
We'll be closing up stream on the hour.
And reflect on what we've already discussed. And in both versions, and it seems like the Hávamál in general, common themes that we've seen are being cautious,
treating guests well,
but being humble and keeping your knowledge to yourself, and not being boastful and treating guests well.
Being humble, essentially, in many senses.
Not proud.
And yes, you make a very good point there, North Star, because of the creativity that was put into writing these pieces and the nuances that were put in, the very fine nuances that we'll probably never understand without a time machine and be able to go and speak to the people who created texts like this.
I mean, as much as I have some issues with the Poetic Eddas themselves, because who wrote them, I do have to respect how they were put together and the effort and the skill that went into that.
Yeah, that's always one thing to remember is the version of the Poetic Edda we have, unless you're reading the older pieces, fragments that we've got, were put together by a Christian monk, so you have to remember that in certain pieces, not so much in Hávamál, but in other pieces there is...
I think it's fair to say Snorri Sturluson. Yeah, he had an agenda. I think it's fair to say. So I want to point out that we've done really well. We got through stanza 6 here, and we'll make a note of that because, hey, in another 2 weeks' time, I will be presenting another edition from the Norse myths for kids, which will be, in this case, Yggdrasil and the Nine Realms. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that one. So whether or not you are or have children, I think you will enjoy that and have a lot of fun.
Yes,
and then again, do another session of reading of the Hávamál. And hopefully, we'll just kind of take it bit by bit, but we'll get through them.
and also, once we're done with the Hávamál, and if there's enough interest, if there's been enough interest in the Hávamál readings, we may move on to the Völuspá, or another one of the poems in the Poetic Edda. May even run a vote on it. You never know.
I think that'd be fun.
Yep.
All for it, personally. So, otherwise, I want to just say, hey, everybody, thank you very much for joining us here, and please keep abreast of our current projects and forthcoming and future coming out. And you can do that via our Facebook group, Hrafnfjall Hearthside. So that will be in the links if you wish to come and keep posted on all of our updates.
Laura, could you drop a link to that group in the chat? So then everyone has it, and then I'll put it in the description when I process the video.
Yep, give me just a second here and I'll pull her up. Coming shortly. Cue hold music.
I wish I had elevator music now. Or hold music, it'd be funny.
Yeah.
Made a note for next time. I need to put a thing on the screen that shows the chat so then people have it. But actually, YouTube now includes chat with live stream recordings, so that could work.
I think so posting the link now.
Thank you.
You'll probably have to be logged in here to access, but there you are. That's in the chat.
Excellent. So, as Laura said, thank you everyone for coming and partaking in the stream. Even if you were just watching, you were still partaking.
I definitely hope you've enjoyed it.
This will happen in another fortnight, but between now and then, there will be another release of the Hrafnfjall Hearthside Norse myths for kids. But please note, you don't have to be a kid to listen. They're just a take on the myths that are more easily digestible by young children. Because they should be accessible to everyone.
And to repeat, that will be Yggdrasil and the Nine Realms. And we'll hope to see you then.
Please watch that video because it's going to be much different from the first one.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, this is Tom.
And I'm Dael.
Signing off, Hrafnfjall Hearthside. Thank you for watching.